What is the upskis, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GXHockeyCast. We are on episode 58, and this is my little weekly hockey show where I go through all the major news and whatnot in the NHL, give you my opinions and all that stuff. I am a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I apologize in advance. And I'm also a fan of the Calgary Flames, so there's that. There is some hope in this guy. All jokes aside, let's get into the hockey news this week. So we are in the off season, so it's going to be a majority of signings and that kind of talk, but I want to take a look at some of the teams that were looking on the outside of the playoff race last year. It's teams that didn't quite make it. We're going to take a look at those three teams in particular, Buffalo, Detroit, and Ottawa. See out of those three teams which one might be closer to a playoff-bound season, so we'll take a look at those teams, go through the signings. There has been a trade and an arrest, so we're going to go into all that stuff. Since we brought up the arrest, let's just get that out of the way right now. So, Alex Galchenyuk has been arrested. So I didn't, go into full details on the story, but he has been arrested for domestic, or not domestic, but basically just, it's a bad situation. He was being a naughty boy and a little bit unruly. I don't know if any substances were involved, if there was any alcohol. Regardless, Galchenyuk arrested, so I don't know if he's out or anything like that. I don't know if he was going to be in jail for a substantial amount of time. According to the crime, just a kind of a unruly situation. I don't think he'll be, locked up for numerous years, but it's a thing that happens. So, Galchenyuk has had quite the career, a third overall pick. Sky's the limit when you're such a high draft pick, but it just hasn't quite come all together right here. He's been really struggling to find a home with the Leafs and then Colorado. He signed with Arizona, and now that's over. So it came out before we knew exactly what happened with Galchenyuk that Arizona was going to be terminating his contract. And then the whole arresting thing came out. So we found out why that was going down. So, Arizona trying to organization on the up and up, trying to, seem that they're got a head on their shoulders. So they really don't want to have this kind of situation. So terminating that contract, moving on from that player, I mean, it's business. You got to do what you got to do. Hopefully Galchenyuk is in a good place right now, just get back on track, and hopefully his hockey career can get back on track as well. I mean, always had hopes that maybe, technically he was a Toronto Maple Leaf there for a hot second, but you know how it is. I've known this player for I've watched his whole entire career, and it's been quite disappointing, but hoping that Galchenyuk can get it back together. So yeah, that happened. That is definitely a thing that happened, and it is quite unfortunate indeed. And speaking of unfortunate, we have another contract getting terminated. This one is Tony DeAngelo, not the wrestler, but the hockey player. He is going to have his final year of his contract bought out by the Philadelphia Flyers. So another guy out here, definitely been hopping around a lot of teams lately. It never seems to work out with this guy wherever he goes. He plays well. He's a very skilled defenseman. He can put up a lot of points, but there's definitely a personality situation going on with this player. There's been a whole bunch of stories of, you name it, just clashing with teammates and coaches and having some opinions that maybe others aren't super agreeing with. But regardless, Philadelphia is Dunyan rings with Tony DeAngelo. They're going to buy out that last year, $5 million. So, for Philadelphia, it doesn't matter. They're going to be trashed. They're right in the midst of a rebuild here, so they don't necessarily need that player on their team. And if they're trying to build a really good culture over there in Philadelphia right now, maybe having Tony D in there is not the best fit. So where he's going to end up, we don't know just yet. It worked out quite good for him in Carolina. Word was that he was going to go to Carolina, but that hasn't happened just yet. So Carolina, the whole thing with Carolina right now, it's very, very up in the air. We'll get to Carolina more so in the Erik Karlsson situation, but Tony DeAngelo, he's another player this offseason, along with Zadina, who is just giving up money, and they still have money owed on their contract, but they're just going to agree to terminate the contract with their organization, and they're just going to re-sign somewhere else and leaving a substantial amount of money on the table. I mean, D'Angelo is leaving, depending on where he signs and how much he's going to get. He's going to be leaving money on the table, so he's betting on himself, and, over his last few seasons, I feel it's a pretty fair bet. He can put up quite a bit of points. He's got value. It's just, I guess, teams get exhausted with him after a short amount of time. So I have a strong feeling that Tony D will find another team quite fast. I don't think it's going to be a problem for him. So that's interesting with Philadelphia. Other Philadelphia news, we do have some decent news, I guess. Cam Atkinson is set to return. I like Cam Atkinson quite a bit. His run here in Philadelphia hasn't been fantastic yet. He's been dealing with a lot of injuries since he got there, but I enjoy the player. He's got, as far as I can tell, like a good attitude since he got to Philadelphia, so I feel like Tortorella is going to be pretty happy to have him back. They have history in Columbus, so that's cool news for the Philadelphia Flyers. There's at least that going on. In terms of some Patrick Kane update here, he claims that he is unlikely to sign until probably after the season starts, so he wants to be 100%. I feel it's more of a smokescreen he's throwing up, that he's just kind of going to wait in the background, watch the NHL form out, see what teams are competitive, see what teams maybe we thought were going to be competitive and drop out. I think he's going to be patient here and select the right team, and he will be going to a contending team, I would imagine, but I don't think he's in any rush. He'll be a late addition for a team somewhere. I haven't really heard of any teams that he's favoring. I would really love to see him go to Buffalo, hometown, Buffalo on the rise. Maybe a piece like Patrick Kane could get them to the playoffs. Who knows? That would be a lot of fun. I mean, that's where I personally would like him to go. It would be fun for him to go back to Chicago, but I mean, that's pretty much done, right? Like, Taves is gone. Pretty much everybody out of Chicago is gone now. I think everybody is gone at this point. And now they're starting up their whole new thing with Bedard. So, I mean, Patrick Kane's already left, so it's not like, oh, he's not going to finish his career, have his whole entire career with Chicago, but he can go back and finish it off. But I still think he's got a few more years left in him. But I just don't think we're going to be seeing like point-a-game Patrick Kane anymore. I feel he would be a great supporting piece on a contending team, rather a second-line guy, power play specialist. He's definitely still got some gas in the tank, that's for sure. So Patrick Kane claiming that he won't sign in the immediate future, but he's definitely going to be signing with somebody, but he's just waiting for right now. Which team do you think he's going to go to? I mean, I feel it's pretty obvious. I think he's going to go to a contending team. Would he go back to New York and maybe sign a deal similar to Blake Wheeler, where it's just outrageously team friendly and they just load up and go for it and see what they can do? So I don't know. Where do you think Patrick Kane is going to end up? And let's see, what other kind of news do we have? Nothing overly big. I wanted to go over my last year's season predictions and cup predictions. I haven't had the time to go back through those episodes, so I will get to that at some point during this offseason so we can make fun of how awful my predictions were. So that will be on the docket at some point this offseason. So before we get into talking about Buffalo, Detroit, and Ottawa and all of them, let's talk about Erik Karlsson for a second since we teased it. So we are still waiting for Erik Karlsson to land somewhere. I mean, the talks are very much so around the Carolina Hurricanes, which again is a little baffling to me because the whole Brett Burns and Karlsson on the same blue line didn't necessarily work out in San Jose. Doesn't mean 100% it won't work out in Carolina, but you know, we've seen this happen already before. It didn't quite work out. So, you know, it doesn't look great on paper. And then Tony DeAngelo was apparently going there. So they could have had just this crazy blue line of defensemen that can't play defense that well with Brett Burns, Erik Karlsson, and Tony DeAngelo. But, I mean, the argument is, Brett Burns hasn't been known to be, like, the strongest defensively, but last year in Carolina, I thought he was quite good all around. You know, more so, obviously, offensively, but defensively, he was much better than he was in San Jose. He's going into a much more structured organization in Carolina. And yeah, I feel like maybe the reins were pulled back a bit on Brent Burns, but I'm just curious, like, does Erik Karlsson have to play on the wing? Could they not move Brent Burns to a forward? He used to be a forward. Could they move him back up there? If Erik Karlsson comes in, could he work as a winger or something in the NHL? I mean, I played with this a couple times in the video games where you put a very, very talented offensive defenseman on the wing and they just go crazy, but that's a video game, right? But like I said, Brent Burns was a forward. He switched to defense. Dustin Byfuglien, same thing. He was a forward, shifted to defense. Could we see something like that happen in Carolina? They really want that offense, and in a different way, they are kind of, instead of relying on offense with the forwards, they have it. You know, they have Sebastian Aho, they have Teravainen, and they have Svechnikov, but their back end, if they had Erik Karlsson, Brent Burns, I mean, their most potent offensive players would be on the blue line. And you don't necessarily see that too often where a team can, you know, kind of go at it offensively with their defense. It would be really interesting to see a team like Carolina do that because they're kind of a defensively minded team. And it would be interesting to see a team led by the defensemen when it comes to offensive production. I think that would be pretty interesting. Regardless, we are still waiting for this trade to go down. From rumblings around the league and everything, it seems like it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. I think Mike Greer, I think his name is Mike Greer, but regardless, San Jose GM, I think he's doing the smart thing for now. He's being very, very patient. He's very, very much so trying to die on the hill of not retaining very much money. I feel like it's just going to slowly creep up. I don't think he'll hit 50%, but I think end of the day, it's going to be like 40% at least. Or they could just kind of get through all of this and just make it a three-way trade where you have one team retaining 50%, Erik Karlsson goes to that team, they trade him again, retain 50% yet again, and they can get Erik Karlsson down to, I think, like $4 to $6 million, somewhere in and around there. So a 100-point defenseman in and around $5 to $6 million. I mean, yes, please, that would be fantastic. There's just so much behind this deal, right? It's a lot of money to move. There's a lot of moving parts. A three-way trade is extremely hard to pull off. There's only so many teams that can do it. There's only so many teams that are apparently interested. I don't even hear the Kraken anymore. I've heard rumblings that the Leafs are in there, but that's just that just makes me giggle. There's no fucking way. And until it happens, man, we're just all we can really do is speculate, but I'm thinking that he's going to land in Carolina. I thought the Kraken would have been a more appropriate place for him. I think it would be a better fit there. But, I mean, I just want it to happen in terms of, you know, make Erik Karlsson happy. I want to see that guy challenge for a Stanley Cup. I mean, he gave me one of my most memorable moments with that unbelievable pass that he did to Mark Stone in the playoffs, and that, oh my God, that was absolutely incredible. We haven't seen Karlsson in the playoffs for quite a long time. I would like to see that man in there competing for a Stanley Cup. That would be a lot of fun. So where do you guys think Erik Karlsson is going to end up? What do you think? What does a return look like on San Jose's end? Like, it's so hard, right? You have a 100-point Norris winning defenseman, but he's got a god-awful contract. So, like, who's getting... What are we getting here? Is San Jose going to be getting any sort of maybe a young prospect asset? Are they getting picks back? Or is this just clearing up salary cap? Like, that has a ton of value in that of itself. So I'm curious as to what San Jose is getting back, or if they're even going to get anything back other than the cap space. So very interested to see how Mr. Greer over there in San Jose is going to get through this. But, I mean, we still have a lot of time, but, you know, sooner... is probably better. Let's just get this shit over with, please. All right, let's move on now. Let's go talk about some of all the signings and stuff that's going on in the league. So let's do trades because there was a pretty hefty trade that went down here. Okay. So the DeBrincat saga with Ottawa Senators is over now. I mean, all the talks prior to that, I mean, it doesn't really matter now. The trade is done. So, Alex DeBrincat on his way to the Detroit Red Wings, Ottawa Senators acquiring Dominic Kubalik, Donovan Sabrango, a conditional 2024 first, and a 2024 fourth round pick. And Detroit gets Alex DeBrincat straight up. So I know it's everyone's jumping on Ottawa right now. It's very easy to do that, I understand, because DeBrincat is clearly the best player involved in this deal, so everyone's all about Detroit right now. But I think it's fine for both. I mean, so let's do the Detroit side. So they're getting DeBrincat. I mean, fantastic. A potential 40-goal guy. I mean, word on the street is he can't run a line by himself, but you're going to put him in there with a guy like Dylan Larkin. Larkin, not the best top-line center in the league, but he's very, very talented indeed, and maybe he's been missing a very, very good winger on his wing to make him a more dominant player. So I don't know if he's going to be playing there 100%, but you would like to think so, right? So DeBrincat there, we'll talk about his extension in a moment, but DeBrincat instantly going into that top six, you would think top line. And in terms of production, I mean, Detroit's made a lot of moves, man. So I would feel that he's going to put up more goals than he did in Ottawa, but in and around, I would imagine he would get back to that point a game. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. But obviously, this is a fantastic move for Detroit. They're adding even more wingers to an already quite nice-looking team right here. Excuse me. And that's a good move for Stevie Y. So last week we talked about how some of the Detroit fans might have been a little bit concerned with what Stevie Y has been doing over this offseason. That's all gone now that they added DeBrincat. So that's great. I mean, it's a great move for Detroit. They're on the up and ups. Very interesting that they're dealing with Ottawa, a team that is kind of in a similar boat here, outside of the playoffs for quite a while, and a team that, could have, some people were predicting both of these teams could have made the playoffs last year. So very interesting that they're dealing with each other here. Word on the street, DeBrincat didn't want to sign with a lot of the teams that Ottawa was trying to work with, and it kind of just came down to the wire that Detroit was a team he wanted to go to, a team he was willing to sign an extension with. So, Ottawa kind of backed into a corner here. It is unfortunate that they had to give up their 7th overall pick last year for DeBrincat, and as of right now, the return coming back isn't as much as they gave up for DeBrincat, but let's break it down. So, Ottawa getting Dominic Kubalik. So, this guy had a fantastic start with Detroit last year. It definitely tailed off. He looked like he could have broken 30, 35 goals. He was on a fantastic pace. He still broke 20 goals. I can see him getting that 20 goals here for Ottawa. So I don't think the goal loss is going to be all that bad with DeBrincat. I think DeBrincat was like 29 goals. Kubalik around 20. So I could see Kubalik doing that again. I would say arguably he's got better centers to work with here. Will he be a top 6 forward for Ottawa? I guess it kind of depends on injuries and whatnot, but I can see him getting in there, or he could be a very, very good third line winger. But I like Dominic Kubalik, the player. He's got a great cap hit for this season. We'll check. I'll be going to... Actually, I have Cap Friendly open up right here. So, we got Dominic Kubalik. Yeah, he is signed for $2.5 million for this season. He will be an unrestricted free agent after that. So, it's going to be interesting what an extension is going to look like for Kubalik. I mean, with such an incredibly hot start, it definitely tailed off, but so did the whole entire Detroit team on the back half of the season. So a good chance, if Ottawa stays competitive the whole entire season, you're going to see a better overall season from Kubalik. I think he's a good player. I really do like Dominic Kubalik. So other pieces, they brought in Donovan Sabrango. I believe he is I think he was selected in the 3rd round, defenseman. So, he is still developing, may not ever make it into the NHL. We'll just have to kind of wait and see on that piece. And then a conditional 2024 first round pick. That's all going to be dependent on, I think that might be Boston's pick. So it's going to be dependent. I believe there's protection and all that great stuff. So a first round pick, I mean, It could be, who knows, it could be a top 10 pick. It may not be. Regardless, a first round pick for DeBrincat, it's not bad, and then in a 4th round. So it's not, I know it's not exactly the sun and the moon that maybe Ottawa fans feel like they paid for to bring in DeBrincat for only one season. It's disappointing that it went down that way. I really liked when they brought in DeBrincat. I thought it was a very, very smart move for them at the time. I thought he would have signed an extension, no problem, but here we are. Things change, and now DeBrincat, part of the Detroit Red Wings. And I don't know, man. I think it could work out pretty good for both. I mean, Dominic Kubalik could come in, great attitude. He can have a very good start and finish with Ottawa. Maybe now there's a little bit less kind of a dark cloud hanging over Ottawa with the whole DeBrincat situation. It's gone. It's over with now. We don't have to worry about it. And, I mean, DeBrincat was good for Ottawa, but he wasn't great, right? He didn't come in, he didn't put up the 40 goals or even 50 goals that people were hoping he would put up when he got here, having Stützle as your center and stuff like that. So, I don't hate the deal as much as other people have. So, I think it's fine, but if I had to pick a winner for now, it's Detroit because they just got the better player. But I don't think, Dominic Kubalik is a pretty nice player. So, it's not that bad. All right, let's try and get to the signings here. So, last week we kind of left off, I believe, around, the 9th. I think the last episode I did was the 9th. So, I think we ended off in and around the Anze Kopitar, so I'm just going to go off from July 7th onward, and we're, for the most part, just going to blast through these because it's mostly league minimum stuff here. So we got 2 from Seattle. Will Borgen gets a 2-year extension, $2.7 million per, 26-year-old defenseman. I can't say I know a whole lot about him. My eyebrow raised when I saw 2.7, but apparently he's a pretty nice little defenseman. So not a bad signing there for Seattle. They also add in Edouard Bellemare, league minimum. He's 38 years old now, but believe he was part of that Stanley Cup winning Tampa Bay team. So you're adding in some veteran leadership and depth right here. Not bad. You got Pittsburgh. They're still doing stuff. They're adding in Vinny Hinostroza and Andreas Johnsson, former Toronto Maple Leafs. So I feel like Kyle Dubas was there when Andreas Johnsson was a Leaf. I believe he traded him, but yeah, since Andreas Johnsson has left Toronto, it hasn't been fantastic for him. I liked him quite a bit when he was in Toronto. A little fiery, had some scoring potential, but injury problems have been hampering his career for right now. So $800,000, 1 year, kind of league minimum, low risk. We'll see. It could be, who knows, if Andreas Johnsson can find even a little bit of what he had there in Toronto, it's a decent move. And then Vinny Hinostroza, league min, depth signing right there. Not bad. We got the Kraken. The Kraken are going to be very busy here, so they're doing lots of stuff, but nothing too big. They signed Cole Lynn to a 1-year extension, league minimum, young player still, 24 years old. We'll see if he can find a spot on the roster this season. We got LA signing Tobias Bjornford for 2 years, league min. Niels Höglander, Vancouver, re-signs him for 2 years at $1.1 million. Like this player quite a bit. I know Vancouver fans might be a little hot and cold on this player. I wish he can get into the lineup a little bit more consistently and they can really see what's going on with this player. He's still young, 22 years old. He's listed here as a winger, but I feel like he's played center. I like this signing quite a bit for Vancouver, just really hoping that Höglander can find a consistent spot in the lineup, because that would be good. There's been some flashes with Höglander. He looked really, really good, so hoping that could be a really good deal for Vancouver. Got Seattle signing Cale Fleury. 2 years, about league minimum, depth signing right there, not bad. Detroit, here is the extension for Alex DeBrincat. So we got a 4-year extension, $7.875 million. Love it. Very good deal right there. The cap hit is good. I enjoyed that cap hit. Kind of sucks that, I feel Ottawa could have easily... It's not that they weren't willing to give him the money. He just didn't want to sign. So that's unfortunate, but it's a really nice looking deal for Detroit. Under $8 million, quite comparable to the Cole Caulfield. And DeBrincat has, two 40-goal seasons under his belt, almost 3. So, yeah, this is a really nice signing. I like the 4 years. I know people would have preferred the 8-year deal, but it's going to take him until he's 29, 30 years old. And maybe on that last extension, you might be able to get even a lower cap hit, but Again, that's 4 years from now. Cap's going to go up, so who knows? Regardless, really like that 4 years right there. I like that quite a bit. Good extension. We got Philadelphia. Cam York, 2 years, $1.6 million per season, 22-year-old defenseman. We're still waiting for Cam York. I don't know if he could be potentially traded out of Philadelphia. It's tough, right? He's 22 for a defenseman. He's still got time to get going here. He's shown flashes of looking really good. I'm hoping for Cam York. Don't really know what the future is going to be with that player. Philadelphia also signs Noah Cates, 2 years, $2.625 million per season, 24-year-old center. So 2 young players here in Philadelphia. Really no risk to these deals. They're basically bridge deals, and we'll find out if these guys can become or take bigger steps on this team. It's going to be tough because they are, Philadelphia, they're rebuilding, but maybe more time for these guys could be beneficial. Now we got Filip Zadina. Zadina has found a team. He is going to San Jose for 1 year, $1.1 million. He's 23, didn't work out with Detroit, former 6th overall pick. And I really like this move for San Jose. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people knocking at the Zadina door to take a flyer on him. And San Jose makes a lot of sense. They're going to have a spot in the top 6 for this guy to give him a shot. Really like it. Virtually no risk to that deal for them. They're rebuilding. They got lots of money. So love the move for them. And good luck to Filip Zadina, man. I really hope he can find his way. Or at just minimum, find a consistent job in the NHL. He may not become that 6th overall potential when they drafted him initially, but if he can become a solid NHL person, then that's great. We got Mitchell Stevens signs a leagueman with Montreal, not bad. Ian Mitchell signs a leagueman with Boston. We got Montreal again with an extension of Alex Newhook. So we got 4 years on that deal, $2.9 million per. Really, really like this deal right here. This could be very good. He's only 22 years old, center. Yes, I mean, there's really not much bad behind this deal right here. Let me just take a look at what did Newhook do in last season here. He had 14 goals, 16 assists, played all 82 games. Not bad, man. I mean, not bad considering with the center as well. He's going to get a little bit better. And I would say it's a fairly low risk. I mean, I like the 4 years on that. It's a good number. It could be an absolute banger of a deal. This guy could potentially move up to a top 6 role, or he could just be a fantastic third line. Even if he falls down to the 4th line at that age, should be able, if it gets really bad, it should be a movable deal. I like this signing right here for Montreal. They're doing a lot of good work right here. Carolina Hurricanes signed Brendan Lemieux, 1 year, $800,000. Got to bring in that piece of shit attitude to the team. So yeah, that we'll see where Brendan Lemieux, if he even gets to play, we will have to wait and see. Kevin Mandolese signs with Ottawa, 1 year, league minimum. That's goaltender. Gotten a few games last year for Ottawa and looked like maybe there's something there. So we'll see what's going on there with Mandolese. I don't know, the goalie situation as of right now. I mean, yes, they just signed Korpisalo, but I still have a question mark on the goaltending for Ottawa. Maybe someday Kevin Mandolese could be the goalie for them. Now in the New York Rangers, they're at it again. Oh my God, everyone's just giving them all the great deals. Keandre Miller, 2 year extension worth $3.872 million. Wow, that's fantastic. I thought it was going to be a lot more than that, so bridge deal clearly right here, and Keandre could get paid after this 2 year extension, but I mean, just shy of $4 million. I mean, bra fucking by New York. Now, you might be regretting this bridge in a couple years, but as of right now, definitely solidifies them as one of the favorites going into this season. They got a great blue line, great forward group, and yeah, man, one of the best goaltenders back there. Keandre Miller, that is a fantastic deal. This guy is awesome. Very awesome. Definitely gets overshadowed by some of the bigger names in New York, Adam Fox and even Trouba and so on and so forth, but great deal right here for Keandre Miller. I imagine Rangers fans are cheering in the streets on that one. Nashville signs Dennis Gurianov for 1 year, $850,000. Very nice deal right here. I mean, he has flashes of looking really good, Gurianov, but I mean, no risk to this deal. He's still 26, so maybe he can become a 20-goal guy for Nashville this season. They're going to be looking for offense from people, so maybe Gurianov can find it there in Nashville. I like that signing. St. Louis brings back Oscar Sundqvist for league minimum 1 year. No problem with that. Anaheim signs their second overall draft pick, Leo Carlson, for his entry-level deal. Congratulations. Boston signs Jesper Boqvist. 1 year, league minimum, 24-year-old winger. Probably depth, might not crack the lineup, we'll have to wait and see. Oh, here's a name, Travis Dermott. What's up, dog? Signs a 1 year, $800,000 with the Arizona Coyotes. Very nice, very nice. Nice to see Travis Dermott still getting it done. Kind of ridiculous that he's only 26 still. So very nice, good for him. Ty Dellandrea, 1 year extension with the Dallas Stars. $900,000, scored a couple big goals there in the playoffs for them. He had that big game. And I mean, he was a higher touted prospect when he got drafted. I really didn't expect him to kind of turn into this player when he initially got drafted, but he's a little bit more gritty, a little more tough than I would have ever expected. But yeah, I mean, nice signing for Dallas. He's still only 22 years old, so I mean, could be more there, but we'll have to wait and see. St. Louis signs their first-round draft pick, Dalibor Dvorsky, for his entry-level deal. Congrats. New Jersey adding in some depth in Chris Tierney. 1 year, league minimum. Center depth, I like that for them. No risk. You got Pittsburgh signing, Emil Pienyam, entry-level, congrats. And they also got Gruden for league min. You got Wahlberg in Buffalo signing his entry-level deal. Brett Murray signing a league minimum deal with Buffalo as well. You got Benoit Olivier Gruelks re-signing with the Ducks. Zach Sanford, league min with the Arizona Coyotes. Ty Smith, league min with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's still only 23 years old. At times there, when he was in New Jersey, looked like he could be, I don't know, I want to say a rover, but definitely maybe a defenseman that can move the puck pretty decently, put up some points. But yeah, since he got to Pittsburgh, he's been struggling to make it into the NHL lineup. So, I mean, he's 23. Maybe there's something there. We'll have to wait and see. Raphael Lavoie re-signs with the Edmonton Oilers, $875,000. Pretty good, man. Pretty good. So that's all the signings that have gone down, all the trades that have gone down. So let's take a look at some of these teams here that might be able to make it into the playoffs this year. Now, the offseason isn't over yet. There could still be more moves in play for any of these three teams. So we'll take a quick look, not an overly in-depth look just yet until their teams are we're a little bit more close to the season start. But let's start with Ottawa. So in terms of forwards, man, I really like their forwards. You got Timmy Stutz locked in for 8. You got Brady Tkachuk, who took a nice step last year. Claude Giroux, who had a nice rebound. Drake Batherson, nice solid player right there as well. You're going to have Josh Norris in there, who's going to be looking for a nice rebound season. As long as he can stay healthy, I believe he'll be there, ready to go for the beginning of the season. You have the newly added Dominic Kubalik. And, outside of that, I don't know if Matthew Joseph would be cracking that top 6, but, with injuries and whatnot. So you got Matthew Joseph, Ridley Gregg, who could potentially step into the lineup this year. We'll see. Mark Kastralik, Zach McEwen, Parker Kelly, and Shane Pinto, who still, I believe, needs a deal here, but not bad, man. I'd like that forward group. It would be nice to maybe get a little bit more bottom 6 depth right there. And in terms of defense, hold on, I just want to make sure that I'm not missing any. You do still have, that's actually, never mind, that's a buyout. Okay, so yeah, I think some forward depth here would be beneficial for the Ottawa Senators. And then in terms of defense, so obviously you got Jacob Chychrun back there, big addition for them last season. We're gonna see how he does in a full season in the Ottawa Senators uniform. He looked pretty good in his short little stint there last season. You got Thomas Chabot back there, just the minute-eating defenseman back there. Artem Zub, okay, not bad. A little bit underrated, not talked about very much, but a nice guy. No, because you're going to have Travis Hamonic with Chabot, but Artem Zub, not bad. Eric Brandstrom, still looking for that next level out of him. Maybe it comes this season. Travis Hamonic, solid veteran defenseman. Jake Sanderson, looking for a big year out of Jake Sanderson. And Jacob Bedard-Docker. So Jake Sanderson already into the NHL now. Just got to keep developing, looking very, very good. And then Jacob Bernard Docker, there you go, hoping maybe that guy can get into the lineup a little bit more consistently this season. And then the goaltenders, you got Jonas Korpisalo, big addition for them in the offseason. 29 years old, so, I mean, arguably still in the prime, but it's risky, man. This one's very, very risky. Not necessarily the most consistent goaltender I've ever seen, but when he's really good, he's really, really good. So fingers crossed for the Ottawa Senators fans, I imagine, hoping that Jonas Korpisalo is going to be good. And they also have Anton Forsberg back there as well. So, I mean, kind of a shame to see what happened with Gustafsson. They moved on from him, and he's been fantastic for Minnesota. What would Ottawa be if they still had Gustafsson back there? But, I mean, forward-wise, I mean, that top six is very, very nice. I really like their top six. They have... Definitely, it's a better defensive core than they've had. If you can get another step forward out of Jake Sanderson and a Bernard Docker can get into that lineup and, really start to produce and be an effective NHL defenseman back there, Ottawa could be good. And if Eric Brandstrom can take a step forward offensively, man, Ottawa could potentially be in there. Okay, so that's Ottawa. Let's do Detroit because they are kind of connected at the hip right at this moment. I just have to find them. Detroit. So, how we doing? Let's see here. I'm not very good at this cap-friendly thing. Okay, so in terms of forwards, you got Dylan Larkin, Alex DeBrincat, Andrew Copp, JT Compher, David Perron, and then after that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then after that, I mean, it could be Robbie Fabry could be there. Daniel Sprong can grab that spot. Lucas Raymond, more than likely going to be in that top six as well. So you got Robbie. You got Klim Kostin now added to the lineup as well. Really like that. Daniel Sprong added. I like that as well. Christian Fischer, not bad. And then you got Bjorgen, Lucas Raymond, like we said, hoping for a rebound out of him. It wasn't that it was a bad season last year. It just wasn't better than his rookie season. So a little bit of a, sophomore slump, but I would expect Lucas Raymond, he's a very, very talented player. I would expect a bounce back out of him. Joe Veleno still doesn't have a contract signed just yet. I don't know I feel like the ceiling for him is gone, but could still potentially be a contributor in the NHL at some point. Back end, you got Ben Sherratt, Shane Gostisbehere, Justin Hall, Jake Wallman, okay, he's big. Oli Mata, Gustav Lindstrom, and then Moritz Seider. So, I mean, yeah, Moritz Seider, final year of his ELC, so he's going to be getting paid. Not the best looking defensive core, I must admit, right here. I mean, Justin Hall, I'm a Leaf fan. I watched him for years. He's going to be tough, man. You're going to hate him some nights. You'll defend him to the death on other nights. Shane Gostisbehere, we know what this guy's all about. All offense, no defense. Ben Sherratt, a bit overrated, but he's an okay, but probably going to be one of their top defensemen. Not a guy you want to have as your top defenseman. Oli Mata, their defense isn't great. Moritz Seider also kind of had again, not a bad year, but not as good as his first year. Teams are definitely going to be keying in on him. He is a major part of the Detroit Red Wings attack, so we'll see if Moritz Seider is able to get around the waters of NHL teams focusing in on him more than ever, so yeah. And then in net, you got Ville Husso and James Reimer, so I like that tandem. Ville Husso, good, solid starter. James Reimer, good, solid fringe starter, I would say. So not the best tandem in the league, but I'm not angry at it. They also have, so overall, it's a pretty good team, but I would just say on paper right now, I like Ottawa's team more. Detroit might have a little bit more of a filled out forward group here, but Ottawa definitely has the higher end talent there with Stützle, Giroux, and other guys anyway. But I would say they have the higher end talent. Detroit might have a little bit more depth throughout their whole entire lineup. Even though I don't think either defensive cores are necessarily fantastic, I'm giving the edge here to Ottawa because I just looking at this Detroit one, other than Seider, don't really like anybody on that blue line a whole bunch. Like Gostisbehere is a fine power play kind of specialist guy, and their goaltenders are fine. Like I'm not over the moon about it, but I'm not mad at it either. I think Detroit getting better. So far, I don't really see that team cracking into a playoff spot. It would have to take some other teams probably to fall out for Detroit to get in, but I think they're definitely going to be more competitive than they were last season, so that's a positive. And now we'll go to the Buffalo Sabres. Let's see how they're looking as of right now in terms of forwards. You have Jeff Skinner still making his $9 million for the rest of eternity. 4 more years, but still. Jeff Skinner, still don't like that $9 million, but it's gotten better since some of those really bad early seasons. Tage Thompson could he take even another step, get even better. This guy could potentially hit 50 goals this year. Dylan Cousins signed his big extension. He hasn't quite grown into that $7.1 million player just yet, but definitely looks like he's going to get there quite soon. Is it this year? Is it next year? We'll have to wait and see. Still only 22 years old. Victor Olofsson, I like that player. He can put in some goals. He's kind of your classic, just bona fide sniper. He'll go cold, but when he's hot, he's hot. Alex Tuch, love this player. Absolutely over the moon with Alex Tuch. Love him. Jordan Greenway, good addition. Casey Middlestat, I feel like he's been in the league forever. He's still 24. He's not... It didn't become the top 10 player that he necessarily got drafted as, but a solid little player. Buffalo all-time great. Gergensen still there. Kyle Okposo, Tyson Jost, Peyton Krebs, and is it Jason Peterka or Jason John? Whatever. Peterka is there as well. Do you still have... Yes, okay. They're all still signed. So, don't like it as much as Ottawa either, but... Tage Thompson might be the most talented player of all the teams. He might be the biggest superstar. Timmy Stützle is right there. Very good as well. Dylan Cousins, pretty good young player. Again, I think I'm going to go with Ottawa as having the best forward group, especially with that top 6. With Buffalo, is it better than Detroit's? I really like Alex Tuch, man. Victor Olofsson, I feel it's very close. Again, Tage Thompson, probably a higher skilled player than anybody else on Detroit. Dylan Larkin is up there. It's definitely close. Let's go to defense here. So Buffalo having Rasmus Dahlin, who had a phenomenal year last year. Looks like he has fully arrived in the NHL now. Matthias Samuelsson, great defensive defenseman, pairs very nicely with Dahlin. Connor Clifton, a little bit expensive, I would say, but a good addition. It's only 3 years, not too bad. They have a lot of one-year defensemen now that I'm looking at it. They only have 2 defensemen that are signed up for more than 1 year, and that is Samuelsson and Clifton. So Dahlin is on one more year. Eric Johnson 1, Lyubushkin 1, Yoki Haru 1, Riley Stillman, Owen Power. So a lot of guys on 1 year deals. They arguably have maybe a defenseman or two too many, but also on their forward group they also have Jack Quinn, but I believe he has a major injury. I don't remember if he's going to be in this season or not. More than likely at some point. But anyway, defenseman. Eric Johnson also added in there as well. Ilya Lyubushkin. I kind of just went down all these names. But yeah, Owen Power, Rasmus Dahlin. I was so incredibly impressed with Owen Power already. How, he looks very, very solid. He looks very comfortable. So this guy's just going to continue to get better and better and better. I don't think he's going to have an offensive ceiling that Dahlin has, but very, very sound defenseman. And considering he's only 20, that's incredible. Darlene, again, very good. I like this makeup, man. I like it. Maybe there's a little bit of lacking of offensive ability, like Eric Johnson, Connor Clifton, Samuelson, Labushkin. You're not really going to be getting any points out of those guys. You're going to be focusing in on a lot of points out of Darlene and potentially Power. Like, it kind of depends on if he takes that offensive step this year. We'll have to see. In terms of defense, I like Buffalo's defense. There's not a lot of great names there. There's like a lot of really good like top 6 defensemen. I would say Darlene, probably your bona fide top 2 at this point. He's very, very good. Owen Power, a very good top 4, I would say. And then Samuelson as well, very good. You can pair him up with Darlene on the top line. I'd feel comfortable with that. The rest of them are just like, yeah, they're solid. And then in net, you got Eric Comrie and Devin Levi. So is there another guy that I'm missing here? Ooh, okay. Very risky goaltending tandem right here. So Devin Levi, very young, 21-year-old goaltender. Could be the next one, but it's a goaltender and a young one at that. So who knows, man? He could be the next coming of Patrick Waugh, or he could be a flash in the pan. We'll just have to wait and see. Looks really good so far in the short amount of time that we've seen Devin Levi play. Looks good. And then Eric Comrie. I mean, I had a lot of hope for this guy when Buffalo signed him. I was like, man, the dude is getting lost in the shuffle over there in Winnipeg. He had a fantastic season over there as the backup. Came over to Buffalo, didn't quite live up to my expectations there. And honestly, that goaltending tandem makes me sweat a little bit. It's very, very, very risky. There's not a lot of experience there. I mean, Devin Levi, fucking young rookie, and then Eric Comrie never really solidified himself as a starting goaltender in the NHL. So they're definitely going to be hoping for some luck there in net, I would imagine. If Devin Levi just turns out to be an unbelievable goaltender, then that's amazing for them. That's exactly what they're going to need. The defense is fine. The forward group is pretty good. Again, you can use some more depth there for sure. And in terms of defense, I think they have good depth, but they could use maybe a top 4. Another top 4 would be good for them. Maybe someone that can move the puck a little bit better. That would maybe be someone that they'd be eyeing up there in Buffalo. Overall, I think that's a pretty good team. Honestly, man, all said and done, I think Ottawa on paper right now has the best chance of getting in there. I'm not saying just yet that they will or anything like that. I think as of right now, up until this point of the offseason, I really like the way that Ottawa looks. I like that back end. As long as the young defensemen can take that step forward and really start to solidify their NHL careers, and if Jonas Korpisalo absolutely hits. If he can play really good, has a great year, Ottawa's going to fuck around, man. They can be really, really dangerous. If they have a fully healthy forward squad with Norris back in there fully, Ottawa could be good, man. But I'm not saying that Buffalo and Detroit are going to be terrible. I think they're going to be competitive this year. They're going to be playing meaningful games later into the season this year. Last year, it just seemed like Stevie Y just kind of pulled the plug, which I don't blame him for. It was the right thing to do. I'm fully behind that move, and I don't think either. I think all 3 of these teams still have more work they're going to be wanting to do. So, out of those 3 teams, which one do you think has the best shot of getting into a playoff spot? They are all Eastern teams. I will be taking a look at some of the Western teams. It's just that these Eastern teams in particular, we've been waiting for quite a while for either of those 3 teams to bust into the playoff spots. So we'll take a look at the Western teams next time. But yes, which ones do you think? I'm feeling good about Ottawa. I felt very good about Ottawa last year. Now I think they're even better than last year. Though they lose to Brinkat, but they added in Korpisalo. You're adding in Chychrun. You're adding in Kubalik, who I think is still a very nice little player. Ottawa could be quite nice. So there you go, everybody. I think that'll be it for me this week for the hockey. I will probably announce if there will or won't be an episode in that particular week of the HockeyCast. Not going fully every other week just yet, but there's definitely going to be some slow times here in the offseason where there's not going to be a whole lot. So if there's a week I won't be doing a HockeyCast, I'll let you know on the Twitter page and all that great stuff, so you can keep up with that. Go check that out. Link is down in the description. All these podcasts are getting uploaded to the YouTube channel, Gamer GX Videos, and I'm also playing through, I'm currently taking a break on the Batman Telltale series, but I finished up the first episode of the Telltale series, so that's going up. You can go check those out. And in terms of the GamerCast this week, we're going to be doing a versus. It's 1998 going up against 2004 to see what years of gaming were truly the best, and we'll be working our way up to 2023 and all that great stuff. So that'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, I think that'll be it. We're going to have the the WrestleCast going up as always. And that is it, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It is kind of a shitty, ugly, rainy day for me, so I'll probably just be down here recording stuff all day. So yes, thank you everybody again for listening. You are awesome. And we will be back again with more GX Plus Cast.